exciting and new. Come aboard.
Don't shout it out.
We're expecting you.
3,
2, 1.
0.
Hey, you! Yeah, you! Come here for a minute. I want to talk to you.
I want to talk to you.
Mama says you're brain dead. Bang your head against the wall. Can't find peace of mind. Brain needs an overhaul.
My brain needs an overhaul.
Bonehead, brain dead. We're all the same. You can't think straight when your heart is in pain. Turn around, hit the ground. Time to lay your burden down.
The views expressed on this broadcast of the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show are those of the co-host and guest and do not necessarily reflect those of our affiliates. The topics and opinions on today's show should not be considered as medical, psychological, or professional advice. Take 12 Radio is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. And now, here's your host,
The man.
That's right.
The myth.
That's right.
The legend.
the Monty Man.
Hello.
I'm telling you the truth, man. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Hello.
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 We're all the same. Saved by grace is the name of the game.
Turn around, hit the ground. Time to lay your burden down. Welcome to the Tank 12 Recovery Radio Show. Denver's here. Good morning. Tony's here.
Good morning.
Marv is here.
Howdy.
Howdy, 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 howdy. Yeah, and we're all a little hyper. Tony's really hyper. Well, welcome to the show. This week's show is part 2 of Step 4 Revealed. It's inventory time.
Oh.
So we're going to be talking about what that means here in a few minutes. Before we do, though, I want to get a piece of extremely sad news out of the way so we can continue with this show. All right. Here it is, and many of you have already heard it. Sutherland Springs, Texas. Investigators said Sunday's church massacre in Texas occurred amid an ongoing domestic situation involving the gunman and his relatives, at least one of whom had attended the church. So many people were killed.
I didn't know what it was, a domestic thing.
Yeah, that's what they found out.
Wow.
While authorities have not publicly identified a motive for the attack, they emphasized that the shooting did not appear to be fueled by racial or religious issues. They said the gunman's mother-in-law had attended the church but was not there Sunday, and that the shooter had sent threatening texts as part of a family dispute. This was not racially motivated. It wasn't over religious beliefs. Freeman Martin of the Texas Department of Public Safety said at a news briefing, there was a domestic situation going on within the family and the in-laws. Investigators have scored the gunman's background since he opened fire Sunday morning on the pews of the First Baptist Church outside San Antonio, searching for a possible motive as the stories of those massacred began to emerge. There were 26 people killed in the church attack. Oh my God. The latest mass attack in a seemingly safe public space. The dead included 8 relatives spanning 3 generations in a single family, while officials said the victims ranged in age from 5 to 72. One family said a 1-year-old girl was also killed. One of the 8 family members slain in the attack. There were also 20 people wounded at the church, 10 of whom remain in critical condition as of this morning. This show tapes on Monday. Texas officials identified the attacker as Devin Patrick Kelly of New Brunsville's about 35 miles north of Sutherland Springs. They said the former Air Force member fired upon the churchgoers with a Ruger assault-style rifle before coming under fire from a local man. Kelly fled and was chased, eventually running off the road. He apparently took his own life.
Of course.
Kelly, 26, was court-martialed in 2012 and sentenced to a year in military prison for assaulting his spouse and child, making him the last mass attacker or suspect with domestic violence in his past. He was reduced in rank and released with a bad conduct charge in 2014. So our prayers and
Definitely.
our thoughts. The pastor's daughter was one, I believe she was 14, who was killed. Just senseless, ridiculous, incredible. We live in a very broken world, folks. A very broken world. And because we are so broken is one of the reasons why we do take 12 Recovery Radio, to hopefully assist in helping to mend some of that. And it's our small part of contributing in that area. And yet these things still continue.
It seems becoming a fad, I think. That's why I was telling James. It's like now it's like the new thing to do, and I don't understand why.
Yeah, well, people are losing it. They're losing it. And, yeah, so if you are a person of prayer, please keep these folks in your prayers, the community. You know, I read a post from one of our listeners that says we are that Baptist church because, you know, for those of us who are Christians, because we're the body of Christ. There's one body. It's the body of Christ, regardless of the name of the place you worship, the sign over the door. And so this affects the entire body and the family and our world. So anyway, I would be irresponsible not to have mentioned that today, even though it's as sad as it is. So let's shift gears for a minute. Okay, and you heard the soundbite at the beginning of the show. We need to announce last week's winner.
Oh, yeah.
The soundbite last week, do you guys, any of you know what it was?
Oh, I looked it up. Can I say it now?
Yeah, you can say it
now.
Fired up.
I know, the Jeffersons.
The Jeffersons.
Yeah.
And the clue was Louise. Louise was his wife. And the winner of that is Denise Tootin from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho? Wow.
Yeah, Coeur d'Alene.
Excellent.
Coeur d'Alene. You spell it C-O-E-U-R and then space and then a D and a little French dashy thing and then A-L-E-N-E. Coeur d'Alene.
I used to do insurance billing, and we had an office in Coeur d'Alene.
Coeur d'Alene.
Nothing like what it looks like.
Coeur d'Alene.
No, it doesn't.
Where'd you come up with that?
So, Denise, congratulations.
Yay.
Yes, and so she will be getting, and this is what you will be getting if you guess this week's soundbite.
Still no moon pie, though.
No moon pies. We're not giving those away. We care too much about you to give you moon pies.
Listen, they weren't even on the shelf when I went there today.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe somebody bought them out.
She's getting the audio DVD with 34 one-hour workshops called Walking Through the Big Book with Chris Schroeder. Basic Prayer and Simple Meditation. A recovering alcoholic talks about beginning spirituality with Mike D. She's getting the Recovery Music CD with 18 different songs from recovery recording artists and the CD Learning to Live Again by Just Ray. Another great recovery recording artist.
I have that CD. You gave me that CD.
You do?
A long time ago.
Yeah, so now you don't have to buy it. You have
I
it.
don't have to buy that one.
Is that something new added?
No, we added that last week.
Okay, what's the new thing this week?
This week?
Yes. Thermos. Of course.
Do we dare tell the joke?
Oh, I would tell the joke.
I think he ought to.
No.
Yo, you stepped into it. You
No.
need.
You did.
Come on,
Come on, Silent
all I'm
Cowboy.
going to say is,
folks. You need to hear this.
All I'm going to say is Monty's still looking for his popsicles.
Maybe
sticks are there.
he'll do it at the end of the show, folks. It's worth hearing.
Maybe he will. We'll see.
That was a Marv soundbite.
So the word of the day is thermos. All right, so let's see what time it is. It's time to play.
Oh.
Guess that soundbite.
I know.
Soundbite.
What time is it?
What time is it? He said. All right, so you also can win these wonderful prizes if you are we're going to make you the third email this
Ooh,
time.
the third.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
We had 22 emails with guesses.
Really?
Yes, and every single one of them was correct, but Denise was the first email.
From Coeur d'Alene.
From Coeur d'Alene. Yeah.
Third today.
The third email that comes in, it will be timestamped, of course, will win those. And here's the soundbite again, and then you have to guess the secret clue, which will be mentioned sometime in the show as well. Besides the name of the show this soundbite came from. Here it is.
Love, exciting and new. Come aboard, we're expecting you.
That song just makes me feel good. What do you guys do?
It's not that one.
It is that one.
No, it's
it's
not
not?
that one.
Oh, no?
No, it's
Oh,
not. that
I
one.
knew something you didn't.
Aha!
You probably know a lot of things I don't.
I feel so.
So we'll give you the secret clue. So you have to guess. You have to guess the secret clue as well as the title of the
That would
TV
be good
show.
for
that
next
was on.
week's though.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Not in charge
Or
of those.
catch you
I'm
one
not
for
in
So
Marv.
I have to qualify here. If you live outside of the U.S., you can't play,
Oh,
and I'll tell you why. Because it costs a small fortune to send the prizes to the UK or to Turkey or to Australia or to wherever. We have listeners all over the world, and we just don't have the finances to be able to send that. And you got to send. I mean, it's a mess to try to do so. In the U.S. Also, if you've won within the last 30 days, you can't win again. You got to wait 30 days. So Donald Roberts, I love you, and you always get the answers correct, but you already won, so give it up, brother.
Oh, this has actually occurred, huh?
Yeah.
All right, sweet.
I think he was our first winner.
yeah.
I think, yeah.
Well, he knows that you're giving out more stuff, so now he wants it.
Oh, yeah, well, he can qualify.
Thank you for being faithful.
Yes.
In a
Very.
few more weeks. So that's only 4 shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta wait for 4 shows. Right? Right. Yes, indeedy.
Stop right there.
Okay.
It's time for Monty Man's Weekly Whine.
That's right. Tony's got one as well.
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh,
You did say you had one.
I know, but I forgot what it was.
It has to do with...
Oh,
Yes. Okay, Tony, tell us what it is.
the other day on Facebook, I put that. What did I put? You caught me off guard, Monty. I was like, dear daylight savings time.
Yes. You don't like the daylight savings time
He
change.
does.
It messes with my body clock. So I was
Right.
up at like 3:30, 4:30 in the morning because James gets up usually about 5:30, 6:30 every morning.
Right.
So we were both up at the butt crack of dawn
Right.
because we fell back an
that was
hour.
tough.
And my whole clock was off.
I knew a
could not-
person named Don. Never mind.
I was looking
I
at
could not stay up that day. It was crazy.
But your
Daylight savings
clock
time.
your clock goes back, so you actually gain an hour's sleep.
I know, but that's more. I'm getting into that age where, okay, I'm not going to age myself, but I could not stay awake the whole day. Oh my God. It was 5:30 and I thought it was 10:30 at like night. And I was just,
I know
was
because
out.
it's darker when you get up. It's darker when you go to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to divorce.
Well, I felt like going to bed at like 6:30 last
That's what
night.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
We need to divorce daylight savings time. No.
Well, wasn't
Just
it
eliminate it?
Wasn't it had to do with farmers and crops and
that's the
all that kind
tale.
of stuff?
Yeah.
That's
What
the
is it,
tale?
Mark?
to give them more daylight to work by.
Yeah, it's stupid. We need
How
to.
do horses do horses get
Yeah,
upset
do
when
they?
you change the clock forward? Don't like it.
I'm surprised I didn't ask him that. But no, divorce daylight savings time. Oregon,
Divorce
please.
Daylight savings
Good
time.
Lord.
So something I learned about Arizona.
Yeah, Prescott.
They don't.
They don't
I know.
change it, but there's a little tiny piece. I guess it's a Navajo Indian
It's
tribe
on the reservation. They do.
where they do
They
it.
do?
Yeah,
It's
but it's just this little tiny piece on the map.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So does somewhere
Hi,
back.
Marv.
It's somewhere back east. That's not Long Island. Oh, it's by DC.
We could abolish it if we'd get enough votes.
I wish we could because it's
Yeah.
the dumbest thing ever.
I am sick and tired of moving my clock back and
I'm-
forth, back and forth, back and
And
forth.
then you gotta adjust. Everybody's like, "Yay, an hour sleep." I'm like, "Oh my God!"
I know.
I had a few choice words.
So thank you for your contribution to the
Yes,
wine this
thank you.
week.
I couldn't believe you put me.
Now mine is okay. So do you guys, at least at some time in your life, have a favorite television show?
Oh my God! Yes.
Okay, right?
Uh-huh.
Wow,
Sugar,
she's
the
passionate.
sugar pills kicked in.
Passionate.
Glucose shots.
Passionate.
I bought one on the way here.
What's your what is it?
The Leah Remini one.
The Lee Remedy
Scientology?
exposing the cult of
exposing
Scientology. Okay.
That and I forgot it. I can't remember right now, but
Okay. So how would you feel in the middle of watching your favorite show, it just disappears? Or you go to watch it and something else is playing. Right? Especially when you've waited all week for episode 4 or episode 5, whatever, and you've been looking forward to it, you've been following your favorite TV show, and you turn it on, and some idiot is throwing a football across your TV screen. Or a basketball, or a baseball,
yeah.
or, I mean, I am so... Okay, here, Denver, you had your hand up.
So you see, I'm really kind of just sitting on the sidelines on this. I got a question. Like, are you, obviously it's come to light now that you meant the power didn't go off in your favor.
No.
Somebody in the broadcasting industry has cut into your primetime TV viewing.
Right.
Okay. Now I'm going back over to my bench and sit down. Go ahead.
Okay. I understand that the United States of America must have their sports. I get that. As much as I despise most sports, I just don't have an interest in it. I am not most of America. I'm a rarity. I understand that. But there are tons of people that are like me. Okay? So I am so tired of turning on my television expecting to see my show. What gives people the right to preempt my show with a sports event?
Wow.
Taking ownership.
No,
Wow.
it makes
my
sense.
show.
Wow.
My show.
We need
is
to go
my
back
show.
on the web so they can see your
Gotta
body
remember,
language.
it's my wine. Okay, so the deal of it here's the thing, and so my son explains to me, Dad, because he's a football player.
Mm-hmm.
My son explains to me, Dad, they've gone into overtime. How is it my fault if you can't play the game during the designated time that it's allotted? That's your fault.
Oh my God.
Either do it during the time that it's allotted, or get off the air. When it's 7 o'clock or when it's 4 o'clock, whenever my show starts, I expect my show to start. You've had your time.
Howdy, Mark.
Now I have my time. It just irritates the dickens out of me, and I'm not alone in this, by the way.
Do horses get mad when that happens, Mark?
I'm sure you're not.
It is very frustrating.
I know.
And it's not like they can announce ahead of time, well, next week we're going to go into overtime and we're going to destroy your television show. See, and here's the other thing. You say, well, then just tape it. No, you can't.
You can't.
Because if your DVR is taping, it's taping that game. Mm-hmm. And you can't go back. Now I got to go pay. I got to go pay.
He looked it up.
No. It was something else. Now I got to go pay money, extra money, to see my show on demand.
No, you don't.
Like if you have like Dish or something like that, you can get the older shows, but then you got to pay for them.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you do.
I don't.
On demand means you have to pay money.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No, I would.
Wow.
Do you have Dish?
Yeah.
Do you?
No, I have DirecTV. Sorry.
Yeah.
Dish.
So I have Dish. I can tape 16 shows at one time, and then watch whatever I want as well. But when you when you bring in your sports channel, it just irritates the heck out of me. So I'm irritated.
He's red.
I am.
You guys should see him.
What step are we on?
Step 4. Please don't misunderstand, folks that are getting irritated with me. We do the weekly
Dish
wine.
makes you pay for on demand?
Well, on demand means that's what it means.
No, because I go on my on demand and DirecTV and it's free.
Really? Maybe it is free.
You should.
Well,
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Even if it is free, I should
You're
not.
thinking of pay-per-view.
Oh, okay. I should not have to go back and rearrange my television because you can't get the job done in the time allotted for that football game or that baseball game or whatever it is. And it wouldn't be so bad. So you can't see it, listeners, but Denver, I have these emoji pillows, and Denver just threw the poop emoji, and Denver just threw the angry emoji pillow
I threw
at
the
me.
angry emoji.
So We do these all in fun.
Yeah.
I'm really not angry, sort of.
No, you a little bit.
Well, when I've been waiting all week long
I know.
to see if, whatever the cliffhanger is, and then you see, the thing is, in America, we complain a lot about people making us do things. We don't want people controlling us. Well, you're controlling me. You're telling me I have to watch this and not the show that I subscribe to.
Where's that
You're
Snickers
forcing
bar?
me to watch. You're forcing me to watch. I can turn it off, I guess, right? I don't.
This isn't Heartland, is it?
I'm on glucose.
Well, no, they
funny
did
right
it
now.
during Heartland one time too.
Oh,
but
okay, because the guys at the center fight over that.
I love Heartland.
Yeah, they do.
What's
too.
Heartland?
Wonderful.
I have
it's
no
a show?
idea.
It's about Canadian horses and a ranch and
Yeah.
nice people and family and all that kind of stuff. It's a very good show. Much better than watching somebody throw a piece of leather back and forth.
Hey. I'm representing.
If you paid me to watch it, then I'd be happy. No, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't be happy. I want to watch my show when I want to watch it. All right, that does it for the weekly whine
That
this
was a
week.
long whine.
If you got something that you want to whine about, you can send it to us at take12radio@comcast.net, and
Please do.
we'll put it on the show. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got some Take 12 trivia and then the topic. Don't go away.
Turn around, hit the ground, time to lay a burden down.
Hey, what's the #1 resource for addicts and their families? Well, it's In Recovery at inrecovery.com. Stay in touch. We invite you to visit their website for daily posts, essays, reported stories, and updates. For the best and brightest of In Recovery, please subscribe to their free email newsletter. Sign up now to receive bi-weekly stories of recovery delivered to your inbox, along with tips and resources for addicts and their families. For the #1 resource for addicts and their families, it's In Recovery at inrecovery.com. All right. Welcome back to the show. It's good to be back. We're not going to preempt you. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, no, this has 42 grams of sugar.
Okay, it's time for Take 12 Recovery Radio Trivia.
Yes.
Wait for it.
Okay.
Wait for it. All right, here we go. Here we go.
Wait for it.
Jesus.
Wait.
Okay, take it away. The Monty Man. Yippee.
All right.
Have you ever seen the meme to that?
the what?
Meme?
To the THK
Uh-huh.
sound thing?
I'm going to send it to you.
Okay,
It's
that'd be
cute.
cool. So you take 12 trivia. If you get it wrong, you get the fluff machine. If you get it right, you get something like that. All right, this is November. Trivia about November means that we are in November. This is according to the publicist James Hortston from the Sunday Express out of London, England. November, you get 3 and a bonus, okay? November was known in ancient times as what? Here are your choices. The month of birth, the blood month of sacrifice, or the month of the ice gods?
I like the Ice Gods one.
Like
That
the ice
sounds
gods? What do you think, Marv?
Oh, I'm going to go with the ice gods.
The other
Okay.
two sounds morbid.
Denver?
Oh, I'm gonna go with the blood one.
Of course.
Denver is correct.
What?
Yes.
The bloodbath?
Yeah, the blood month of sacrifice.
What the-
Yep.
Okay, what?
That's a different show.
All right, here's number 2. We don't know if any of these are true or not. We just like to... All right.
I guess killing turkeys, you have to have blood.
It came from England.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Number 2, what's likely to be born in November more than
my
any
God.
other month? And these are your choices.
Horses?
Children with blue eyes, Down syndrome males, or serial killers.
Ooh! For James, I'll say serial killers, because I call him a serial killer all the time.
Because he's born in November?
No, because of his eyes.
Because there's eyes. You hear that, James? Blue-eyed children, Down syndrome males, or serial killers born in the month of November more than any other month. What do you think, Denver?
Logically, it should be serial killers because it's cold and wet. But I'm going blue-eyed babies.
Blue-eyed babies? What do you think, Marv?
Oh, boy. Where do you come up with these questions? Gee.
Obviously, the internet.
Serial killers.
Yeah, well, Tony and Marv, you're correct.
All right.
Yeah, sorry, Denver.
Good job,
all
James.
about the serial killers.
But he's not born in November, so you're born in the wrong month.
Number 3, according to the 17th century astrologer Richard Saunders, what happens in November and how would we treat it? Here are your choices. A, daisies die and should be treated by a formal burial. Daisies die and should be treated by a formal burial.
Lord.
B, depression increases and we should eat more eggs and honey and vomit more often. Or C, Jupiter and Mars align and we should be mindful of tsunamis.
Gee,
Why
they're
vomit
all
often?
great choices.
That's like anorexia waiting to happen.
Marv, you go first.
Yeah.
Daisies die, depression increases and we should throw up more. Or Jupiter and Mars align.
Oh, Jiminy Christmas.
No, that's
No, that's in December.
Yeah, that's December.
I'll go with the last one.
Jupiter and Mars align?
Yeah,
What do you think?
why not?
Why not, right?
Why not?
I'd say the depression one, just because it sounds funny.
Okay. All right. Denver, what do you think?
Just go with that.
Oh, I'm digging into my memory banks here. I'm coming
Memory
up
bank.
with
You know this?
Jupiter and Mars.
Okay, well, Tony, you're correct.
Oh my God! I need to eat honey
Yeah.
and throw up more.
Depression increases and we should eat more eggs and honey
Why
and
eat
vomit.
eggs and vomit?
I guess it helps with depression.
KFC, when you vomit that up, that's good.
Now
Wow.
this is according to 17th century astrologer Richard Saunders.
Oh, Lord,
that
he
was
had
his
no
philosophy.
idea.
All right, and here's your bonus. In the USA, November is officially what? Is it Cultural Awareness Month, Sweet Potato Awareness Month, or Dead Bakers and Semi-Sweet Chocolate Awareness Month?
Do you know this?
No, but I'm telling you. No.
I was like, I'll go with
November,
what he said.
sweet potatoes, Thanksgiving. See the correlation there? Yeah,
Interesting.
sweet potatoes.
You need
potatoes?
to throw up more.
What do you think, Tony?
Sweet
I'll go sweet potatoes.
Sweet
just
potatoes?
because he got
Marv?
so excited.
Yeah, let's all be wrong.
Ah.
Sweet potatoes.
Well, you're all correct.
Yeah.
Oh, high
Yeah.
Five, guys. High five.
It is Sweet Potato Awareness Month.
Of course it is.
And that does it for Take 12 Trivia for this week.
I think that's the craziest trivia I've ever experienced.
Oh, my goodness. All right, before we go into the topic, I want to give a shout out to Carrie. She is the owner and really the main driving force between a app called the Recovery Channel. And if you go to take12radio.com, towards the bottom of the page, you'll see two banners for the Recovery Channel. One will take you to the iOS or Apple for iTunes, so you can download their app and listen to their shows if you have an iPhone. The other one has a little Android logo on it, and that'll download it on Google Play if you have an Android-based phone. And so you can get her shows. And she's got several shows that are on there. And recovery is not just drug and alcohol recovery for her. It's very broad for her. So it may have to do with mental health. It may have to do with taking care of your body, nutrition and that kind of
Wellness.
thing. It's
Oh,
wellness.
wow.
Yes,
I'll
wellness.
have to tune
And
in.
one of the really impressive terms that Sharon shared with us last month, which I really like, is wellbriety. So that kind of encompasses a lot of things instead of just sobriety. And so that is what Carrie's doing over there at the Recovery Channel. Please click on that. She's a colleague of ours, and she could use your visitation and tuning into this.
You betcha.
I'm going to look it up when I go.
Tuning into this.
Tuning into this.
Into newest.
Into newest.
So you can download the app on the phone, and then you just go to whatever's playing. There's several days a week, and she's looking for broadcasters too. So if you have something to share and you want to do it, you need to get a hold of her. And there's links to be able to get a hold of Carrie. Or
Is she local?
No, she's not local.
Oh,
But
okay.
it doesn't matter. It's internet
she's
radio,
on-
so it's
she's on the
worldwide.
airwaves.
Yeah. Just a very sweet lady with a heart for doing this for all the right reasons.
Aw.
And so we want to support her in that.
Awesome.
Okay. So and if you'd like to get involved in podcasting or broadcasting, that kind of thing, and you would like to hitch your wagon to Carrie in the Recovery Channel, you can email me here, and I'll make sure she gets the information. So just email me at take12radio@comcast.net. All right. Step 4 revealed. It's inventory time. This is continuing from 2 weeks ago when we talked about step 4. And we talked a little bit about resentment. Step 4 says made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. We talked about that searching meant it's an ongoing thing because more is being revealed as we work through this. That moral, in this case, means truthful. So the inventory that you're taking is truthful. And we talked about in step 4, resentment is the number one offender. And so it is not surprising that the first inventory that we're going to take is surrounded around resentment. This is the one time when I work with people that I permit them to talk about the other person. That I permit them, for lack of a better term, to assign blame, if you will. Now, that's not what we want to do, but that's kind of how people interpret it. And I say, okay, I give them some leeway here. So in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, this is broken up into columns, this inventory. So if you can imagine in your head kind of a spreadsheet, you've got, basically you have 5 columns, and there's 3 of them are outlined in the Big Book very obviously. The other 2 are kind of hidden in the writing. And so, again, Bill W. was very good at wanting you to research, wanting you to check this out. So there's ways that you can study things, and it's not by just skimming over it or sitting in a Big Book discussion meeting, because that will not teach you how to apply and implement what's in this book. What will teach you to do that is somebody who's experienced, and we call them a spiritual advisor or a sponsor or a mentor that has gone through this and has applied and implemented it and is working with other people. So this book is best applied as it is studied, not as it is just read in a Big Book share meeting, which is nothing wrong with that. It's just that if you really want to apply and get the meat out of this, you need to sit down with somebody. And by the way, this show is not meant to be a replacement for that.
Yeah.
Because we're just barely scratching the surface here. So it says here, in dealing with the resentment inventory, that's our first one, it says on our grudge list. So we're assuming we're kind of ticked off. There's some people that have pissed us off, right? Mm-hmm. And right now, we're not too concerned about why or what our part is in it or anything like that. We just want to put this list down. Later, we'll talk about that. It says, we set opposite each name our injuries. Was it our self-esteem, our security, our ambitions, our personal or sex relations which had been interfered with? So we're going to talk about those. But the very first column that you write down is, I'm resentful at. Mm-hmm. And then you write down one of 3 things. The individual's name, the institution, or the principle that you're angry with. So I may be angry with the power company because they turned off my power. Now, we'll find out if that's my own fault or not, but right now, we just want to write down this list. I might be mad at Mom because, for whatever reason, she just really hurt me. I might be mad at the neighbor, whoever it is. In the example in the Big Book, the first column says, I'm resentful at. It says Mr. Brown. The next person is Mrs. Jones. The next person is my employer. The next person says my wife. Or it could be my husband or my boyfriend or my significant other, whoever. It could be the grocery clerk. But the instruction says that you move from one column, you write down the people you're resentful at. So you're going from top to bottom. You're not going across. You're not writing down, my boss and then writing down what happened. You write down all the people that you're resentful at, or the institution, or the principal. So a principle that I might be resentful at is big boys don't cry. That's a principle that I may have been taught. And I'm really angry about that
Gotcha.
because I cry. So that might be included. But these are things that so this is the one time we have permission to say, this is who I'm ticked at, or what I'm ticked at. And that's the beginning of the resentment inventory. Once that's done, then we move over to the next column. What happened? In the big book, it's called the cause. The example it gives here, so I'm resentful at Mr. Brown. The cause, or what happened, was his attention to my wife. Told my wife of my mistress.
Mrs. Jones.
Mrs. Jones, yeah. Brown may get my job at the office. So there might be several reasons or several things that happen. So you write that down. And then you go down to the next name, and you do that one. And the next name, and you do that one. So in this case, it says Mrs. Jones. She's a nut. I love that.
I forgot that was in there.
She snubbed me. She committed her husband for drinking. He's my friend. Well, he was my drinking buddy. Now he's gone. Is what happened.
Exactly.
She's a gossip. So I'm ticked at her. Then you go down to the next one. My employer. He's unreasonable. He's unjust. He's overbearing. He threatens to fire me for drinking and padding my expense account. Well, yeah.
Well, I've done that.
but you're mad about that.
Yeah.
And on it goes. Once you've done that list, then you look at what it affects in your life. And this is where I personally love the 12 and 12. Because if you look in the 12 and 12, it talks about our God-given instincts. And column 3 is what God-given instincts does this affect? Well, you need to know what those instincts are, first of all. And so if you go back over in the 12 and 12, and if you don't have one of these, you really need to get one.
I love the 12 by 12.
In step 4, in the 12 and 12, it talks about our God-given instincts. There's 3: social, sexual, and security. And it states, creation gave us instincts for a purpose. Without them, we wouldn't be complete human beings. If men and women didn't exert themselves to be secure in their positions, or in their persons, made no effort to harvest food or construct shelter, there would be no survival. If they didn't reproduce, the earth wouldn't be populated. If there were no social instinct, if men cared nothing for society or one another, there would be no society. For these desires, for the sex relation, for material and emotional security, and for companionship, are perfectly necessary and right and surely God-given. Sounds good, right? Uh-oh. Yet, these instincts, so necessary for our existence, often far exceed their proper functions. Powerfully, blindly, many times subtly, they drive us, dominate us, and insist upon ruling our lives. And then he gives an example. Our desires for sex, for material and emotional security, and for the important place in society often tyrannize us. When thus out of joint, man's natural desires cause him great trouble, practically all the trouble there is. No human being, however good, is exempt from these troubles. And here's a key statement. Nearly every serious emotional problem can be seen as a case of misdirected instinct. When that happens, our great natural assets, the instincts, remember, good, right, have turned into physical and mental liabilities. Step 4 is our vigorous and painstaking effort to discover what these liabilities in each of us have been and are. So, in the third column, Mr. Brown ticks me off. His attention to my wife is what happened. What does this affect? Which instinct? My sex relations. And then in brackets it says fear, because a lot of these things, it's fear-based.
Yeah.
So we're taking an inventory of how these affect us. What do they threaten? And what's really key here to remember is a threat is a threat. It's not a follow-through. It's a threat. And so often I found in my own personal life that I will feel that something is threatened. I am fearful that it's threatened. And my behavior will demonstrate out of my emotional response to the fear of something being threatened. And what that looks like for an alcoholic or an addict is often using and drinking. But it can be something else. You can be clean and sober, right? And respond, your emotions, you can act in your behavior be something else.
It becomes a resentment.
It becomes a resentment. You want to take revenge. We got all these problems, these things that we create. And so a fearless inventory is the attempt to disclose what these things are in our lives. And so what a lot of people will do is fall into the yeah, but syndrome. Yeah, but you don't know my situation. Yeah, but you don't understand Mr. Brown. He's really bad. Yeah, but. Now remember, your first column, you could put the people down that ticked you off, but now we are going to investigate what our part in it is.
I was about to say I could mention the fourth unknown column.
Yeah, so it goes on to say, we went back through our lives, nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty. Remember, he talked about that before. When we were finished, we considered it carefully. The first thing apparent was that this world and its people were often quite wrong. Nobody's disagreeing with that. To conclude that others were wrong was as far as most of us ever got. So we got to column 1.
That was good enough.
And I don't know about you guys, but when I've worked with people and doing their inventory, they get done with column 1 and then they run.
Oh, yeah.
The usual outcome was that people continued to wrong us and we stayed sore. Sometimes it was remorse, and then we were sore at ourselves. But the more we fought and tried to have our own way, the worse matters got. As in war, the victor only seemed to win. Our moments of triumph were short-lived. And this is where we get that statement, holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other guy to die.
Right.
We only seem to win. It is plain that a life which includes deep resentment leads only to futility and unhappiness. To the precise extent that we permit these, we do squander the hours that might have been worthwhile. But with the alcoholic, whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience, this business of resentment is infinitely grave. We found that it is fatal. For when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the Spirit. The insanity of alcohol returns, and we drink again. And with us, to drink is to nod. Right? So, this was our course. Here we go. We realized that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick. Though we did not like their symptoms. So what's the symptom? Mr. Brown pays too much attention to my wife. But that's not what's really going on. And the way they disturbed us, right? And here's the key 3 words. They, like ourselves, were sick too. You see what happened here? The playing field just became level. They're no worse than me. They're no better than me. They like me. And this is really great. When you're reading the big book, you put your name in there.
I got angry when I read that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Because it made you look at yourself, right?
I did.
What do you mean? Like, I'm not that bad.
And I did the yeah, but.
Right.
And my sponsor's like,
So then it gives a solution. We ask God. What's that mean? We're going to pray. We're going to pray. We ask God to help us show them the same tolerance and pity and patience that we would cheerfully, are you serious? Cheerfully grant a sick friend. When a person offended, we said to ourselves, this is a sick man. How can I be helpful to him? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I can forgive him. Yeah. I can let it go. But now you're asking me to be helpful? Well, now when we start acting like that, when we start saying those things, we're self-centered again. I'm not going to be helpful. But that's what it says. God saved me from being angry. Isn't it interesting? That comes right at the heels of how can I be helpful to him? because Bill knew just that statement. I want you to be helpful to the guy you're mad at.
Even if you're cursing through it.
Yeah. God saved me from being angry, because
Yeah.
you're going to get ticked at that whole
Yeah.
idea. Thy will be done. Now, it goes on to talk about avoiding retaliation, and then it goes to the fourth column. Referring to our list again, putting out of our minds the wrongs others had done, we resolutely looked for our own mistakes. And here it is. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened? Mm-hmm. See, that's the fourth column. And so there's a lot going on there. We got to look at that. Going on further to the fifth column, it says we reviewed our fears thoroughly. So now we're moving from that into the fear inventory. So we have a resentment inventory. We go into the fear inventory, the things that we were afraid of. And the amazing thing about the fear inventory is that once we start admitting our fears, not just our wrongs, but admitting our fears to ourselves, another person, and to God, the Big Book says at once we begin to outgrow fear. Mm-hmm. So there's something about confession that heals us, that helps us do that. So we're going to be looking at our fear inventory, and then it moves on into the sex inventory or the harm inventory. Because for most people that have used mind-altering substances, a big percentage of people, there have been sexual harms committed. Mm-hmm. And
or you use it against somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You bet. And so these inventories were ours, the book says, not the other man's. Mm. When we saw our faults, we listed them. We placed them before us in black and white. We admitted our wrongs honestly, and we're willing to set these matters straight. So this is about getting really honest with ourselves, putting it down on paper, and that's hard to do. Mm-hmm. So anybody want to share about how four-step inventory, what they think about it, what they feel about it, any experiences with it? Tony, I'll start with you.
Well, one thing that kept running through my head was one of my items was I was pissed off at the law.
Right.
Well, it's because they don't like me or da-da-da, whatever I was trying to rationalize. But at the end of the day, after I did my inventory on that, I had to realize that everything was my fault, because that's why I got in trouble with the law. I was drinking and driving. I was not going to my court dates. I was not paying fines. I was not doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Yeah.
So you always... I remembered being angry at that for like a long time. And I had to do many 4 steps over it, not just one. Because there would be things that I didn't remember or would come to me later and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's not easy. Nowhere in that thing does it say it's going to be easy.
No.
Yeah.
But it's worth it, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a poop show going through it, but...
Yeah.
You got to do it.
Marv, what about you? What about taking a look at your part and stuff? How has that been beneficial to you, and has it been difficult?
Extremely difficult, and I'm not sure if it's been a benefit or not, because I'm not dead yet. I'm not up
Nicely
in heaven.
Spoken.
I'm not up in heaven to see the results of all this
Excellent.
stuff.
But when you see your part in it and you deal with it, do you not get some relief?
I suppose. Yeah.
So that would be a benefit.
Okay.
Cowboy wisdom.
What about you, Denver?
I just ran out of water.
Do you have a resentment over that?
No.
pen
Man,
to paper
you
right
have
there.
just laid out a whole plate full of truth, goodness, truthfulness,
Yeah.
difficult, everything right there. I will comment on one thing right off the get-go is I have and I practice this as much as I can, is not to use the but I factor. I hear that used constantly, and I realize that there has been a lot of times, yeah, but. And the truth is, if I would take the time to put it down on paper and look at it, at the end result, it's going to end up me was the contributing factor, the major contributing factor. I'm not saying there isn't other, there maybe have been a little bit if it hadn't been that way, but in the end, it usually ends up it's me, not but.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's where. Sorry, I take a drink of water.
right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I hear that so much. Yeah, but let's stop and let's just think about your part in this, because we have a part in it.
And by the way, that's column 5 is where are we to blame?
Yeah.
So in column 4 is and by the way, this is very important. And let me rewind for a minute. Before you do column 4, before you do that, that's where you refer to your list again, and you look at where you had been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened. Well, I was frightened when he borrowed my car without my permission. Okay, that's different than seeing where I'm to blame in that.
Yeah,
I'm just stating where I was frightened. But before you do that, it's important to do that part that's right before it that says this was our course. We realized that the people that wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick. It's important to see that biblically, we're not talking about battling against flesh and blood. We're talking about a spiritual battle. Something's going on beyond the person. They may be totally have no ability to straighten themselves out mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally. You know what I mean? They may not be able to do that. And when we see people through the eyes of our loving Creator, we look at them differently. Now, once I'm looking at that person differently, okay, then when I start looking at to see, where I had been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened, I begin to see my part in it better. And then in column 5, when I actually find out where I'm to blame, okay, well, what am I doing loaning in my car? Well, I was kind of hoping he'd score some dope on his way home.
Exactly.
Come on, let's get honest here. And it comes back to us. Because we're the one, it's our inventory. We have to do the changing. And so this is difficult stuff. And the but syndrome, when we say but, we automatically just disintegrate everything we said previous to that.
Exactly. It nullifies every bit of confession or guilt or whatever you had established. It just wipes it out. It's like, but it's not good.
And then it says it later on at the end of the section inventory. It says, we reviewed our own conduct over the past years. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, inconsiderate? Whom had we hurt? Did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, and bitterness? Where were we at fault? And what should we have done instead? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was going to say, and we got this all down on paper and looked at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, go ahead.
May I also add, too, that there's going to be situations where, like with my first husband, when he, beat me and starved me. I mean, there's going to be those situations, too, where nothing's your part, but you still have to put that in the 4th step to be able to get it out so you don't carry that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that relevant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. We need to, and I know a lot of people don't want to, but we really need to focus on how many times God is involved in this thing.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
And it's God, capital G. It says at the sex inventory, it says, we ask God to mold our ideas and help us to live up to them. So if my sexual conduct is in question, I'm not asking, the neighborhood Planned Parenthood organization to guide my behavior. I'm not asking the gay and lesbian community to guide my behavior. I'm not asking the Christian stick in the mud pastor that is very judgmental or whatever to guide my behavior. I'm not asking my brothers and sisters to guide my behavior. I could go from very liberal to very conservative viewpoints on sexual conduct. I'm not asking any of them to guide my behavior. I'm asking God to guide my behavior.
When you're asking all of those other entities, you're looking to get your ears tickled, and you're looking for them to say, "Oh, yes, you're right." When you're asking God to do that, you're seeking truth.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Very good point. Very good point. So we have a tendency to go and ask advice of people that we know will co-sign our crap.
Exactly.
It doesn't say we ask people that will co-sign our crap for their advice. No, we ask God to mold our ideas. That means to change, to construct these things and help us.
And yet there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors.
There is, most certainly. I didn't mean to come across like I seek it.
No, I'm just saying it's kind of this paradox.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
You know, on one hand, you're saying, and I agree with you, by the way, you know, you go to God and you ask for forgiveness, you ask for help, you ask for Him to be in your life, all this stuff. And then on the other hand, God says in His Word, there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors.
And so my recommendation is...
Then we need discernment.
Yes.
Exactly.
So we ask God to show us who those people are.
Right.
And He may show us it's somebody we don't really like.
How often?
Right.
We may not like that guy because he tells the truth, and we don't it makes us uncomfortable. But maybe he's the guy to speak into our lives, or the gal.
Yeah.
But if we'll ask God to direct our paths, and then He'll put people in our lives, because we know He works through people, right? Mm-hmm. He'll put people in our lives, and then you're right, Marv. But if we're searching just to get
tickled ears,
our opinion co-signed, we may not recover. It says, whatever our ideal turns out to be, we must be willing to grow toward it. We must be willing to make amends where we have done harm, provided that we do not bring about still more harm in doing so. In other words, we treat sex as we would any other problem. So this tells you what to do. In meditation, we ask God what we should do about each specific matter. The right answer will come if we want it. God alone can judge our sex situation. Then it does say, counsel with persons is often desirable, but we let God be the final judge. We realize that some people are as fanatical about sex as others are loose. We avoid hysterical thinking. So if there are people you're going to, and they're hysterical about your position on sexual conduct, if they're hysterical and they're right fighters and they're just rah, 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 they may not be the wisest people on either side of the fence, liberal, conservative, or anything in between. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have to be careful. And then it talks about later on, we don't beat ourselves up over some of the things that we've had ideas about. You know, we're just looking to improve our lives and to have God change our thinking. Remember, our thinking is all screwed up.
Yeah. Put the stone down.
The beautiful thing about this is that every step has promises. And in the fourth step, it says, we have begun to comprehend their futility and their futility and their fatality. These are our resentments we're talking about. We have commenced to see their terrible destructiveness. We have begun to learn tolerance, patience, and goodwill toward all men, even our enemies. For we look on them as sick people. We have listed the people we have hurt by our conduct, and we are willing to straighten out the past if we can. In this book, you will read again and again that faith did for us what we could not do for ourselves. We hope you are convinced now that God can remove whatever self-will has blocked you off from Him. Wow. Those are promises.
That's huge ones, too.
Those are promises. If you have already made a decision and an inventory of your grosser handicaps, you have made a good beginning. What? This is just the beginning? Yeah.
Grosser handicaps. I love that.
Yeah.
That's the big, ugly ones. And as we go, it just gets more detail and detail and detail.
I know, it does. And this is that being so, you have swallowed and digested some big chunks of truth about yourself. Oh.
Yeah.
I'm full.
More water, please.
Now, it's interesting because the next chapter, and we'll be talking about this next week, is called Into Action.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Didn't I just do a bunch of action? Well, it was a beginning.
Yeah.
It was only beginning. So when people drop off at step 4, they haven't even got off the launching pad. You know, because in chapter 6, Into Action, it opens up by saying, having made, that's in capital letters, our personal inventory, what shall we do about it? And that's what we're going to talk about next week.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Whoa. That's where you should play that TMX sound.
You know, just real quick, I'll
Yeah.
say something. In the Red Road, on these kinds of steps like this, they use that mind mapping.
Right, and that's really good stuff.
yeah.
I don't know how many of you guys have actually looked at it, but it clearly is, to me, it's just the way I am. It seems so much more clear.
It reveals more,
to
doesn't
do
it?
that than to write all this stuff down like you guys, like the book says.
Right.
You know.
Well,
check that out.
and see, again, the authors in here, primarily Bill Wilson, but it highly recommends outside help, highly recommends other pieces of literature. This is not a one-size-fits-all with every technique. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And mind mapping is really, really, lots of different people use mind mapping. I recommend, there's another book called Remembering Who We Are. You can look it up on Amazon by Carol Ann Preston. We used to have a show that we did every week with her, and it was all on mind mapping. So you'd write in the center, you'd write fear, and then off to the side, you would start brainstorming and all these things that had, and it's amazing when you don't think too deeply and you just start whipping out stuff that comes to your mind, the things that come out and the truths that come out. One of the problems that people have with the 4-step, they try to make it into this huge novel.
Yeah.
And that can be very painful. And thorough does not necessarily mean lengthy. You can be thorough and not end up with, I'm working on my 4-step, I'm in my 3rd year on it. Well, something's wrong. Something's wrong there. So mind mapping is, that is good stuff. It's really good stuff. All right. So let me see here. What was I going to tell you? Okay. So in closing, I'm going to give the clue.
Yeah.
And then I got to tell you something else that we're really, really proud of here. So the secret clue for the contest is gopher.
I was wondering if that was good.
Gopher is the clue. So Podomatic is the host to more podcasters worldwide than even iTunes. Right. In the category of self-help, Take 12 Recovery Radio last week was number 1.
Wow.
Number 1. Which is
Love
absolutely
Love it.
huge.
That is awesome.
Absolutely
Even
huge.
with the whining.
I know.
With the whining.
It's the cowboy knowledge that
It's
says it.
definitely the cowboy wisdom.
Yeah, right.
Ta-da! All right, so our closing song this week is by Selfish Steam, the recovery band Selfish Steam, Tony Morosi and the gang. It is called Without the Booze.
Just when you think you have all your ducks in a row, life takes a spin. It happens again and again. It seems to me that when I take my will and let you go,
where do you draw the line? And how do you find the time? Do you believe face and live on for eternity.
Without the booze, I've been living, that's a fact. Without the booze,
I've been making my way back.
without the booze, I've been learning day by day to let it go and stay out of my own way. I haven't quite figured out what this life is all about.
So many roads yet left to choose.
But I can tell you this, lately it's been the best times of our lives without the booze. Without the booze, I've been living, that's a fact. Without the booze,
I've been making my way back.
without the booze, I've been learning day by day to let it go and stay out of my own way. Stay out of my own way. Stay out of my own way.
Hey, listen, everybody, don't forget you can subscribe to our shows for fun and for free at our Podomatic page. Simply go to take12recoveryradio.podomatic.com and sign up, download the app for iPhone or Android. You can listen to us on the go. You can listen to us at home. You can listen to us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man and the Take 12 Recovery Radio Gang. We're wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye now.
Good guys, bad boys, we're all the same. Saved by grace is the name of the game. Turn around, hit the ground, time to lay a burden down.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Cause she's a super cat, she's super kitty, meow.
Here, kitty, 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 kitty.